Hi, this is Nina from Rafaela Soul Sessions. I'm a Beyond Quantum Healing practitioner from Scotland in the UK. And I am here today with my wonderful, beautiful friend and colleague, Tena Dodds. Tina, how are you?
I'm amazing. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
And you are also a fellow practitioner. Tell us a little bit about your individual skills.
Yes, I'm a beyond quantum healing practitioner as well, and a spirit releasement therapist and an intuitive empath. And I work at Quantum Healing with Tena.
Yay.
Yay.
So we have come together today. We've been trying to do this video for an embarrassingly long amount of time.
I know. So much so that we forget what we want to talk about.
I know, like, trying to remember it all again. So we swapped sessions a little while ago, Beyond Quantum Healing sessions, and they were amazing. They were so much fun, and we're going to do that again soon. But first, we really want to talk about all the experiences that unfolded after our sessions. The first session was your session, where we were led astray somewhat by the amazing Dolores Cannon. Tell us a little bit about that session and what happened, and we can go from there.
Yeah, that was really an amazing session. So I didn't land somewhere like you normally would at the end of an induction. Actually, in the middle of the induction, Dolores showed up, like in the open landscape part. I was on this big rock and she just appeared and took my hand and we jumped down. And then she's like, "Where do you want to go? We can go anywhere you want." And then all of a sudden we flew up into this cloud. And she's like, "What do you want to do, Tena? We can go anywhere." And I'm like, "I don't know. Where's Jesus?" And I said that because I was thinking about Jesus so much before the session and wondering why he has shown up so much for me and if he would show up in that session.
Yeah.
And she's like, "He's right here." And he appeared next to us in the cloud. And all of this was going on while Nina was reading the induction. And I was just kind of like sitting in it and letting it unfold because I really wasn't sure what to do, whether to stop you or not stop you or just see what happens. Yeah. So Dolores again was like, "Where do you want to go?" I'm like, "I don't know. Let's go to Hawaii because I love Hawaii." So we went there. And yeah, and we found out that, I've always had this really deep connection with Hawaii. I went there once and it felt like home. Like when you were talking about that island earlier, it reminded me of that feeling I had in Hawaii. And I've learned before that I've had connections to Lemuria, and Hawaii supposedly still holds that energy. So when we asked Dolores why we came here, because I didn't even really know why we went there, why that was my thought, and she said, because you wanted to know where you came from and why your soul came here originally, because the Lemuria was in a 5D consciousness, and they lived in unity and community and love and peace between each other, and it was nothing like we live in now. And I've always had this deep sense within me that it's not supposed to be like this. It's not supposed to be like this. It could be so much better. And, why are people fighting all the time? And why is there this separation? It just never made sense to me. So going back there and seeing that, and so we did go on to explore a life there, where I was elven and there were fairies, and we explored a little bit of that. And just how they lived, and, you know, they grew their own food, they ate fruits and vegetables. It was just really such a peaceful existence. You know, there was no suffering. And if someone did get hurt, we knew how to heal each other. We could use our hands and channel the divine energy through us to heal each other. And everyone worked together. Everyone always came together no matter what. And there was just so much peace and love and unity. And so what we found out was that we were shown that because that's where we're headed back to as humanity, that we're headed back to this place, and we got to feel what that felt like again. I mean, even you were feeling it, right?
Yeah, we were both in hysterics. It was, I mean, I was listening to you and just listening to how it was all unfolding, and then there was something like so absurd about everything that was happening that we both lost it, and we were just like, and then it was like, well, what is this? What are they doing? Like, what is she doing? Is she doing a prank on us? But no, they were showing us what it feels like to live in a state of joy. And we got a glimpse of that through this session. We got to literally feel how it was to live in a place that it makes you so happy. You don't know whether to laugh or cry because
right,
it's so wonderful. So I remember I asked Dolores, I said, why did we have that moment where we both lost the plot for a minute? And she said, that's joy. That's how it feels. That's how it feels to live in a state of joy. Yeah, I don't know how we'd get anything done.
I know.
All the time.
Happy all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really, really amazing. And then as the session unfolded, Jesus was there still, and he kind of led us through the rest of the session after that. And he had some of the most amazing advice and information, and I'll never forget the things he said about how crazy people change the world. I love that whole bit. I just felt like it was like,
oh yeah, I feel it now. I feel it now.
how we're the crazy ones are not actually the crazy ones. We are sane, and we are trying to show people that we are living in an insane system, in an insane world, and it doesn't need to be that way. And we're the sane ones who manage to look at everything from the wider perspective and go, that's not how this should be. But of course, people like us and people who do see the wider perspective, we all get labeled as crazy or or conspiracy, or all that, seen as wrong in some way. Or but yeah, that whole bit where he was talking about how crazy people change the world was just so beautiful. I'll never forget that. I often go and listen to it just to remind myself.
Oh, I love that. I know. I listened to that too. I loved it too, but it was like crazy for me to be channeling Dolores and Jesus. Like that was the first time that had ever happened, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go with it, So I really just trusted the information that was coming through. Yeah. That was pretty crazy. Yeah, I loved it too. I loved everything he had to say about that, and the information on twin flames, which he calls divine soul counterparts. Because as you know, the twin flame thing has kind of been hijacked in a way, and pushed in the wrong direction, you know, where people are just so wrapped up in it and yearning for their twin and, you know, always looking outside of themselves. Jesus said it much better than I can. But yeah, so that was really interesting too. That he talked about the twin, and you know, Jesus and Mary were twin flames or divine soul counterparts, and Mary comes up later in our story, in how this all unraveled. So it was so cool how it all just unraveled after that session.
I know there was so many things, and just as you were talking there, I was reminded a whole bunch of other stuff that happened as well.
Good.
It all started unfolding. Not long after that session, I had my experience with Mary Magdalene, which was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like that. Because even in your, sorry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, well, I just remembered too that I pulled the Mary Magdalene card for your session. Remember?
I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that. Oh my God, did you?
Yes.
I didn't remember that at all. Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
I remember in your session, I said to Jesus, because I thought, you know, I'd been sitting there for the past couple hours talking to Jesus. And I was like, if we're going to be sharing this information, I need to get his perspective on this, because even I was like a little bit, like, you know, with this work, our belief systems are challenged all the time. And when I was like talking to Jesus through you, I was like, there was a part of my conditioning, my you know, kind of almost like I need to mock anything that might be connected to religion because it's so ridiculous. Like that part was still sort of, there was residues of that still left in me. I even said to him, what do you think about religion and how your name has been twisted and how the story has been unfolded? And partly because I needed to hear that,
Yeah.
I was just still a bit like, this is bizarre. Like, how am I going to publish this? Like, but the information was so beautiful and so powerful. It was like, these messages need to come out and this information needs to come forward, because this is incredible, the information that's coming through. Like, and we could feel it. We could feel the love and the emotion and everything that he was saying to us. It was incredible. It was so beautiful. But no, I couldn't remember that you'd pulled the Mary Magdalene card from my session. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Not long.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was, we did mine first, right? And then yours like the next week?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I pulled it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's important to talk about too, because a lot of people have this misconception from religion. And like you were at that point, like you would just mock anything about Jesus, like, oh, that's ridiculous. I was there a few years ago. Yeah. Until I started seeing that there's truth in all religion, right? It's just kind of twisted in a way, like the dark takes things that are true and twists it, or tells you 90% truth and 10% false light. And so I was at a point once where I was like, you know, because I was raised Catholic and it never resonated with me. I'm like, you know, how are, you know, 6 billion people on the planet going to go to hell because they don't believe in Jesus and they're good people? That never made sense to me. Like probably all the things that you were thinking too. Yeah. So yeah, I was at a point where I'm like, you know, Jesus people are crazy. Really? I mean, that's the thought that goes through your mind. Jesus people are crazy, because there are those people out there that just, you know, throw Jesus in your face. If Jesus isn't your savior, then you're going to go to hell, and all of that deep religious conditioning kind of stuff. And that's what makes people turn away and be like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, you're telling me I'm going to go to hell because I don't believe in Jesus. That's ridiculous, right? Like normal, logical people are going to think that way and then just completely turn away from it altogether. But what I came to realize over the years was that there's truth in his story. There's truth in him. And his story was twisted by the dark side, really. And like he explained it perfectly. Again, I don't have the words Jesus has, but he explained it perfectly about how he came here to show us that, not to save us from our sins, but to show us that we can do the same things he can do. You know, that we are the light, that everything we need is within us, and that God is within us, and it's all around us. And, you know, there's so much truth in his teachings and in his messages. And I had a really profound experience with him. I don't think I've ever told you about it. It was a couple of years ago. I'm not the kind of person that has like sessions all the time and readings and stuff like that. Like if I'm going to do it, it's going to be like a big thing for me. So I had this healing session with a practitioner, and she asked me, she named like 10 ascended masters and asked me to pick one. So I picked Jesus. And I was lying in my bed. She was doing some kind of clearing or something, and I felt him in my room, like right next to my bed. And it was the most powerful feeling of love I've ever felt in my life. So much so that I couldn't stop sobbing. I was just sobbing, and the love was so overpowering. I actually had to ask him to step back a little bit because it was like overtaking my body. Just talking about it like brings that back. And I don't know why I picked him. I really didn't have a connection with him before then. I just didn't really know any of the other ascended masters at the time. But yeah, I'll never forget that experience. It was amazing. And the first time I really felt spirit, you know, in that way. And that was incredible. And then he has shown up a few times for me before, not in that powerful kind of way, but I've seen him in my mind's eye. And he is like, because I was so focused on healing my body, you know, I would just sit in meditation, lie in my bed in meditation. And sometimes he would show up and like throw a ball of light into my stomach or something if I was like in pain. So I've had those kind of experiences. So that's why I was curious about Jesus and if he would show up in that session. And he did.
Yeah, for sure he did. He was there the whole time. Yeah, and it wasn't long after that session that I had my Mary Magdalene experience. And I've been waiting to tell this story because I knew we needed to talk about this.
Absolutely.
But it was incredibly powerful. I was feeling a little lost, and I went to my Divine Feminine cards, and I just felt like I knew I had to pull a card. And as I took the cards out of the shelf, they've got Mary Magdalene on the front. There's a picture on the front. And I just looked at the picture and I thought, wouldn't that be nice to get a message from Mary Magdalene? And I wondered why I'd thought that, because I was like, I've never been interested in Mary Magdalene before. I'd been becoming more open to it because there was more mention of these kinds of things coming through in sessions and stuff. So I won't and in your session with Jesus, so I was becoming more open to it. So I was just kind of like, that would be interesting. And then forgot all about it and then started to shuffle the cards. And I remember I was looking out the window and I was purposely not looking at what I was doing. I was just shuffling because I didn't actually want to see what card had popped out. And I remember it falling in my lap, and that was the card. And I picked it up and I took a second before I turned it over, and I turned it over and there was her face, Mary Magdalene. And I took this like breath in, and it took me a moment before I could breathe out again, because when I breathed out, I was just flooded with like so much love. It's like she was holding my heart. It was amazing. And I read the message from the card, and it was just so powerful and so exactly what I needed at that moment. It was the perfect message for me to realign with myself, because I was out of alignment, and I was trying to look to other things that were, that could fulfill me, when it was really me that was needing to fulfill me. And I just felt like you described with Jesus, like that enormous wave of love. And it was like, I just had tears streaming out my eyes, and I cried for 3 days. Like, I cried and cried and cried. I was just like so overcome with emotion. I had no idea like we could feel that way. It was just overwhelming. And I kind of had to get myself back together, and I don't really know how much time passed. I don't think it was that long. I was still at the table when the door went. The door went, and the post came through the door. So I went out to go and get the post, and it was a little package, and I completely forgot that I had ordered it. But it was a little package, and it was Dolores and Jesus in the Essenes.
So cool.
It was
That's just so cool.
I remember I was just like, oh, you're both at it, are you? I was just like, oh my, and I remember I had to tell you immediately. I was like, you're not going to believe what just happened. I was just like, oh my goodness. And suddenly this whole new wave of understanding and information just washed over me, that there is a deeper calling to both of these souls. There is a much more profound and overwhelming sacred story to these two souls that I had never ever begun to imagine was possible. And yeah, it was just like, it was like suddenly being put up a level.
Level up, yeah.
It was like, oh, here we go, now you get it. And yeah, I was really emotional for a few days after that, because it was, yeah, I'd never ever felt love like that before in my heart. And after that, I did a BQH session as well, and I actually channeled Mary Magdalene, a gorgeous message from her. And she said, I came to share that with you because I wanted to show you that love you felt is your own. I'm not putting that onto you. I came to show you what was already in your own heart. And it was just like, oh, there we go. Boom. She did it again. There we go. It was just like, holy shit. But then there was loads of things. You were having stuff happening as well at that point. It was just all like, it was beautifully unfolding.
It was so perfect, the way things just kept happening and happening and happening. Even when you went and bought that ring for yourself for your birthday. Remember?
Yeah, the what's it called again? This one.
This one, yeah. What is it called?
Moldavite.
Moldavite. Yeah,
Moldavite. The
yeah.
Moldavite ring, which is it's from Hawaii, that stone. Yeah. And I didn't know that until after I bought it, until I spoke to the shop owner. He was like, yeah, that came from Hawaii. I was like, no way.
Yeah. I know. I saw that on your post where he wrote that. I was like, oh my God, that's the craziest thing. I know. Yeah.
And then
Just
carry on, sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, there was something that I wanted to share. Like we shared the messages from the session, didn't we? And then I remember going to bed one night and feeling Dolores's energy with me. A lot of that, I felt like she was chattering away to me.
Oh yeah.
And then I woke up in the morning and I just had this sense like she was saying like, you're not finished sharing this message, by the way. You're not done here with this. And again, I went to my cards and it was my light worker. No, it was something to do with light oracle deck. But the card that flew out was Lemuria. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I had to share that message, and it was all about reawakening to this fifth dimensional reality, this 5D consciousness, and living in the going back to living in an advanced civilization that were of a 5D consciousness. And it was just like by then it was just getting silly.
I know. And the crazy thing about that card was there was a triangle on it. And there was a connection with a triangle that I had that exact day that you posted it. I don't remember exactly what it was now, but I remember the triangle. It always sticks in my mind. And I ended up buying the Starseed Oracle deck, which is kind of like the one you pulled Lemuria from.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the triangle keeps coming up for us too, right?
Yeah.
And so what was happening for me too was right around the time, I think it might have been the night you pulled the Mary card, or the night before. No, it was the night before you pulled the Mary card. I had a session. I was just doing like a practice session with Karen. And one of my questions was, first of all, it was like, why do I have so many male guides? Because I've never really had any female guides. I feel strong male presence around me a lot. And more specifically, why is Jesus, like, why am I connected to Jesus? What is the connection there? And what I saw unfold in front of me was a scene with Jesus and Mary Magdalene and their children. And what I got from that was that I carry an aspect of Mary Magdalene, just as all twin flames do, just like you do. And that's why she's showing up for you, because you carry that divine feminine aspect. And that's why we're here to anchor it down into the planet from the inside. And they both, Jesus and Mary, all twin flames carry both aspects. But like the divine feminines, like us, we feel more of the Mary divine feminine energy.
Yeah.
However, they sprinkled it all over the planet in all of these twin flames so that they could anchor down that energy and tell them about the book you were just talking about, how Mary prophesies that return.
Yeah, you suggested I get the Sophia code, which is an amazing, I mean, I can't even say it's a book. It's like a sacred text. It's like amazing.
It's like an activation.
Yeah, absolutely. You told me to get this book, and it had the Mary Magdalene's section, and I got the book and I looked in the section, And I was reading it, and it was really, really beautiful, really powerful. And then there was this one part that was like saying once Jesus had ascended, and she went to France, I think it was, she was able to, because she was a priestess, she was a priestess of the moon. She had traveled all around the world and to different mystery schools, and essentially she had the same skills and she was an equal to Jesus. And this
Right.
is the
She was
story.
not a whore. She
No,
was an
she
equal.
was not a whore.
No.
Story that's been twisted.
Because they wanted to suppress the divine feminine. All that power has been suppressed for so long.
Exactly. They didn't want to show people that Jesus and Mary Magdalene stood beside each other and healed people equally.
Yeah.
They were equal. They were the masculine and the feminine, the true divine union.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the information that has been suppressed for so long. They were equal. I'm getting goosebumps right now.
I love it.
And yeah, and I read the book, and it said, after Jesus had ascended, she went to France, and this was where she prophesied the demise of her reputation and how her name would be twisted and changed, and how she would be called a whore, and how she would be seen for thousands of years by humans as this woman who needed to be cast aside as some sort of lower, dirty, degraded woman, and
that needed to be saved by the man, Jesus, who forgave her.
That followed the man.
Yeah, right. She followed him, and
he
was so amazing that he forgave her for being such a whore,
for being so sinful that he took it upon himself to forgive her, while she followed him around. Not true.
Not true.
Not true at all. They were equals. And not only that, she saw the demise of her name, but she also saw the revolution in people understanding the truth of who they both were, and the message they both have, and the vibration that they have gifted to this world, and the aspects of themselves that they have seeded in these divine couples. And she also said she saw the faces of every single one of us, every single one who could see her truth, the truth of her story and her essence, and the true power that she held. She saw all of our faces, and I read that, and my tears just went. Oh, that's me again. She's talking to me. So, but yeah, before all of that, I had no idea there was this level of true sacredness to the twin flame story, because a lot of the twin flame stuff out there is just like, oh, when is he gonna contact me?
Yeah.
It's just this ongoing women who are just miserable and wanting somebody to contact them, and it really stops out the truth of how sacred this is, this divine masculine, divine feminine connection, these divine soul counterparts that are here, that have been seeded here as reflections of divine love to show the world what love is and who and what we truly are. So there's this whole aspect of it that has been totally overlooked
out,
by this twin flame hysteria and just a lot of people doing card readings, and a lot of people trying to sell this, that, and the other reading that might help somebody with their man that's not getting in touch with them.
Yeah, it's the whole, like, again, it's the old paradigm of women wanting to be saved.
Yes.
Being a victim and waiting around for their Prince Charming to swoop in and save them and save the day and give them that love that they're not giving themselves. Because that's what Jesus said in the session too. He said, give yourself the love that you want so badly to give out. You know, give that back to yourself.
Give that love to yourself.
Yeah.
All that love that you feel for this person, give that love to yourself. And that was like, and that's the truth. It is the truth. It's like, it's not about the physical person. It's the energy of that connection is what is the truth. It's what is the essence. It's what pushes this vibration forward. And it's a very creative energy. It's the energy connected to sacred sexual union. It is this powerful creative force that people feel with their divine other. It's that creation, and that's the same creation that Jesus and Mary Magdalene are pushing forward within us. So
yes, you said that so beautifully, because when it's the twin flame energies, the divine masculine and feminine, when they come together, they create that third creative energy, that healing energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is what is contributing to healing the planet. I mean, you don't have to be with your twin flame to be, carrying out your mission here. As long as you're strongly rooted in yourself and giving yourself all that love and not being so laser focused on having to be with them, or, all of that kind of stuff we just talked about. There's a bigger, when you zoom out and see from the bigger perspective, a higher perspective, there's a bigger reason for the twin flames. And it's not always about physically being together, but more about, like you said, anchoring in that energy to the planet to help raise the vibration, to help us heal, because humanity really needs it right now.
Oh yeah. You can say that again. Yeah, absolutely. I did another session recently with a client who was also, like yourself and myself, very connected to Mary Magdalene. And she received the most beautiful messages and healing. And I actually asked in that session, because I wanted a little bit more confirmation about what we were uncovering. I actually asked in that session.
You're like a sleuth.
My little monocle. I asked in that session whether herself and Jesus had really spun out aspects of themselves to incarnate on earth so that they could bring their message forward, that they're into these connections, into these couples. And she confirmed that, and she was very matter of fact about it, and it was very much like, yeah, obviously. It was like,
of
course we did. We needed to find a way to continually carry on our message, and the only way we could do that was continue to incarnate ourselves into these couples, and really hope that this message of true divine union would start coming forward. And yeah, that was really nice, and it was just a really lovely another layer of confirmation that what we were figuring out was was the truth. And yeah, the whole thing has really just completely expanded my heart and my mind to a level,
I know. It's
it,
amazing.
it was just not there before. And it's so lovely that you and I have been able to work on this together. And it really felt like we were doing this work together. We weren't just doing session for each other. It was like we were actually uncovering this information and figuring this stuff out. And I mean, I'm sure we're not the first people to uncover this information, but
Right.
we were getting shown this information in a really unique and beautiful way that it just really felt like you and I were given this task to figure this stuff out and share this information with the viewers that we have. So
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like information, even though it is out there, obviously we're not the first, but
yeah,
it comes through each individual uniquely, right? Like we all have our own unique filters and our own unique energy and our own unique audience. You know, even though we only have like 200 or 300 subscribers, that's a lot of people. If you imagine them in your living room, you know, like that's a lot of people.
yeah.
So yeah, and to like you know, for it to expand your mind specifically around the whole like religion thing, that was amazing in itself.
Yeah,
That is really incredible that you were able to break through another barrier, you know, and really have that higher understanding of the story of them.
yeah,
And it's been incredible. And then I had an incredible experience with Mary too recently. I've been doing my remote spirit releasement class, and one day our teacher was leading us on a shamanic journey, he called it, and I didn't know what was going on. Like I had no idea, but as soon as he started talking, I just like felt all of this emotion, and I'm like, what is happening? I was like crying. I mean, we were in a dark cave, but it wasn't something I would normally be emotional about. I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now, but I just felt like this rush of energy, and I'm like on camera in front of like 20 people. And
yeah,
I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? So I'm like trying not to cry. Um, so we go through, and so we end up meeting a guide. And the guide that I met was Mary Magdalene. And so that's when I knew, oh, okay, I'm feeling her energy. And it was just like Jesus. It was so all encompassing. And it just felt like my heart was going to explode. It was so, so, so much love. It was just this, like exactly as you described it, just this unconditional love that just came through you and around you. And it just was like a hug, but like nothing like you've ever felt before. Never felt that from another human before.
yeah.
And I'm like sitting there in class, like trying to fight back my tears. And then, you know, the teacher's like asking for people to volunteer to talk about like how they met their guides and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do here? I couldn't stop crying. Like I couldn't stop crying. And he's like, oh, you could take a minute. Cause you know, he's like super masculine, kind of like practical British guy, right? He's not good with emotion at all. He's like, are you okay? Oh, okay. So yeah, but I told him, like, I had no choice but to tell them who it was, you know, and everyone was kind of looking at me funny, but I'm like, okay, I guess I'm exposed here, you know, like just totally exposed in front of all these people, you know. And one girl even asked me, she's like, well, was there another guide there? And I'm like, no, there wasn't another guide there. That it was her. And I can't deny that. You can't deny that feeling, you know. It's not even like I saw her. She was just a light to me, just this glowing gold light. It was just that I knew who it was, and I knew it was her energy. But yeah, that was incredible. So I was like trying to process that. And I'm like, why would Mary Magdalene show up to me in my spirit releasement class as a guide? So I went back to the Sophia code and I read the chapter again. And it didn't click, because I've read that a few times, but it never fully clicked with me till I read it again. And it specifically talks about her being like a master exorcist and a master, to getting attachments off of people.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumpy as you're talking.
Whoa. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because even me, I'm still thinking, oh, Mary's like a soft kind of energy. Why would this feminine energy show up to do like spirit releasement work? Like, I mean, we're working with dark force entities, removing dark force entities, getting down and dirty, like with, spirit releasement. So it was a little bit confusing to me till I read that, and it was just like mind blown. I'm like, oh, okay, she's no joke. Like, she's gonna.
Well, she is a powerful force.
Powerful force.
She is a really powerful force, and that was one of her messages for me, was that part of your mission is to bring forward the power of the divine feminine message, the power of the feminine, that real like raw mama power that is almost masculine in a sense, but it has that softness and that kind of that rawness, that raw feminine energy. So yeah, I think she does that. Although she can melt us into emotion with her love, she also has that true like sense of, you're not gonna mess with me. Like, you're not gonna screw me over. It's like, she's solid in her foundation and her self-worth, her self-love, her, she's not going to be screwed around with.
Exactly.
And that's the big message about, this. And this message is coming through right now. We're seeing all these divine feminine round tables and these women coming through and showing their declarations of sovereignty and showing just that, the power of the feminine and how that needs to be embodied so much more on this earth. It is beginning to be, but it's a really amazing wave that's kind of happening right now.
Oh, I forgot about something else. So yes, you're right. And the divine feminine is so important right now. It's so anchoring into the planet right now. Sometime in between when we had our sessions and all of that, I had that tandem session with Dana and Karen, where the divine feminine came in so strongly. It wasn't anyone specific except the Syrians were there, but it was that divine feminine energy. And we looked at lives like where in ancient Egypt, where the priestesses got together, the goddesses got together, and they celebrated together in their divine feminine power. And they were like, just like you described Mary, they were that, powerful beings, that don't take no shit, like, don't mess with me. And so yeah, we saw that, and then we moved to like those beings were, I think they were like hybrid humans, or there was something not fully human about them, but it was still a representation of us. And then we moved to a more human life where it was the same thing. It was the divine feminine, but it was it was like a moon ritual they were doing and anchoring down in those energies and just coming together, like in that unity as women. And it's crazy because that's what I've been feeling happening since we did that session. I feel like women just coming together, like these divine feminine women in their power, to be like, we're not going to accept this anymore. Like, we need to stand in our power, and we're not accepting any of this BS that's going on in the world,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
you've just reminded me as well of another message that came through from that session I did for a client, where she was, she was asking for information that can help her become more aligned and more embodied into her divine feminine essence. And the message Mary Magdalene was saying or giving us was that, we needed to embrace our own love for ourselves, our own appreciation for our bodies, for our sexual energy, and hold on to how sacred that sexual energy is. We needed to honor our blood, our moon cycles. We needed to become aligned with the moon cycles. We needed to gift our blood to the earth, because that was what was going to nourish Gaia again. By gifting our blood, this is the most sacred substance on earth. This is the potential for creation of new life. This is sacred, and we needed to nourish the earth with this blood, and yet become more aligned with our cycles, and more in tune with who we are, and having the power over our emotions to not just react to stuff, as we do at times, but observe and respond, and take that moment to reflect on maybe what situations are unfolding, and just take a moment before we respond, and hold on to that sort of more, I feel like it's in the solar plexus, kind of like calm,
poised
kind of powerful feminine energy that we all have within us, male and female divine feminines, because obviously it is just energy. It's not gender, and it's not to do with gender, it's energy.
Yeah, so when we talk about divine feminine, we're not talking about females. We're talking about the energy of the divine feminine. We all have a divine feminine and masculine within us. Yes. So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think it always needs to be mentioned.
Yeah.
We do these videos.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with feminines like you and I coming together, you know, and embracing our femininity. There's nothing wrong with that, because now there's this weird thing in culture where it's like not okay to be male or female. There's this whole weird thing going on, you know? So
there's this de-genderifying of everything. I think there's something maybe a little bit more murky going on there. But I mean, both energies, both the masculine and the feminine energies, are so beautiful. It's just they've been so out of alignment. The male energies have been so toxic. And you look at the way the general relationships play out, and the way men and women treat each other, and the way they speak about each other, and the way that it's just been so out of alignment to the truth of, what we're capable of and what we're capable of creating here on earth. And
I know. I love that we were able to bring this message through, because it's so important. And as we leave that old paradigm behind, the toxic masculine and the toxic feminine, the feminine that's just submissive and doesn't stand in her power and just takes it and suppresses her emotions, we need to move away from that, as well as the toxic masculine. Those two together are just no good, we need to move in now to the new paradigm where everyone starts to balance the masculine and feminine within themselves, And then, you know, once they can do that, they can welcome a partner into that. Like they already have a relationship with themselves. And now they're able to have a relationship with another without having that dysfunction, you know, being able to, you know, look at and own your own shit and not project it onto somebody else, but take ownership and responsibility and stop being a victim to life and, you know, everyone, and to men and to whatever. You have to take responsibility for your own self, because again, you can only blame the abuser for so long before you have to take responsibility back, take your power back and say, no, I'm not going to let you do that to me anymore. I take back my power and you don't have the right to abuse me. You know, a lot of women are stuck in these relationships where the power balance is so off. And it's tricky because they do get gaslighted, you know, and they into believing that they're powerless. But they really need to find that within themselves, because it's all within, and we have to find that within ourselves and really bring it to the surface and take those baby steps into full power, because it's not like you just wake up one day and you're full feminine power. It's a process, you know, and we're all on the journey. Not one of us is ever there. It's a process. We're all going through. Oh, who's that?
It's Mowgli. He's come up.
Hi, Mowgli. He's so cute.
He's my ragdoll. He, what was I going to say? I was going to say about as you were talking there, I was thinking about how people get very addicted to being the victim in relationships. They get very addicted to the sympathy that comes along with being the victim in a toxic relationship. And that kind of bypasses them having to take any responsibility for that relationship and their part in that relationship. And that's something that really needs to be looked at and changed as well. And you're right, it's all part of owning your own stuff and, you know, not letting all that stuff bleed out into the relationship and into the onto the other person, because they haven't created that for you. You've created that for you by not looking at your own stuff. Right. So, yeah, absolutely. So this has been a beautiful conversation. I'm so glad we finally been
I know. Yay for us. We finally did it.
I know. And it's been so nice to spend this time with you as well. Like, we message each other most days and we leave each other little voice messages, but it's so nice to have your almost squeezable self, even though we're on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, I know.
Is there anything else we should talk about whilst we're here? Is there anything else that we should bring up?
I think we did a pretty good job.
I think we did too. Well, thank you so much, Tena, for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and I hope this brings you all out there something to think about. And Tena, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Quantum Healing with Tena, Tena, and my website, quantumhealingwithtena.com.
And if any of you want to get in touch with myself, I'm at Nina. No, I'm not. I'm at raphaelassoulsessions.com. I'm also here on YouTube and Quantum Healers as well.
Quantum Healers, yeah.
On the directory. So thank you so much for being here. We're sending you all of our love and light and everything. And take care of yourselves. And any final messages for the collective?
Well, like you said, take care of yourselves right now. It's just so important to really not beat yourself up, you know, for feeling bad right now, for feeling emotions like anger and irritability and frustration and all of these things that are coming up within us. I think we really just need to be gentle with ourselves and realize that we are processing all of these dense energies through our bodies, through our physical vessels. So that's why a lot of us are feeling this very physically as well as emotionally. And we just always have to remember just to be gentle with yourself. Take care of yourself. Rest if you need to. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't feel guilty. Just really give yourself that time to be and allow yourself to process it. So that's my message.
Oh, thank you. So thank you everybody for watching, and I'm sure we'll be back again soon after we're going to do another session swap together soon, I think. And we'll be back again soon for more catch-ups and conversations. This has been lovely. So yay.
Lovely. Thank you, Nina.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.